Well, hello. Welcome to the Dale Music Show. We're glad you tuned in. For those that haven't seen one of our shows before, the show is largely about songwriting, but about a whole pile of other music-related things. And each show we sing one song, and we alternate taking turns between episodes. So today I'm going to sing a song, and then we're going to talk about it. But the song is called "That Train Left the Station." Hear that train in the distance, rolling down the line. It's so fading with the passing time. It's too late to make a reservation. That train left the station. When it was at the terminal, you didn't want to get on board. Did you want something different? Want something else more? Well, for your information, that train left the station. Missed opportunity going down. You changed your mind. You're more than ready to book a ticket to ride. Well, here's the situation. That train left the station. That train left the station. That train left the station. All right. Dave, did you have any questions about that song? Or?
Yeah, I like that song, Dale. It's really moody.
Thank you.
And
you don't need your mic there.
When did you write it, and what was the inspiration?
Okay, so I think I wrote it the song in 2014, but I think I finished it. I changed the line in 2015, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that idea, that really sort of, I think, fairly common kind of dynamic where in a relationship, maybe imbalance, and when one person maybe be interested in a part in the relationship, and maybe the other person not so much, and then time goes by, and the person that was interested in it has kind of moved on emotionally, and maybe the other person goes, oh, maybe, but in the meantime, it's the other person's moved on, as I said, and hence the line, that train left the station.
Yeah.
That other phrase, that ship sailed or something like that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Nothing else stays the same. Everything is
Exactly.
changing
Exactly.
for the good or the bad.
One of the interesting, for me anyways, interesting things about that song is that it's a train song. It's not really about, of course, trains, but it wrote it in Hawaii where there are no trains.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you have your guitar with you in Hawaii?
I did. I have a little travel guitar, like a little mini one you can just take right on the plane,
Nice.
like up in the passenger area. And so.
So that was what year did you write that song?
Well, I believe it was in 2014, and it was on the Big Island.
Oh wow, yeah.
Pretty cool island. Yeah, that's the deal with that. Any other questions about it, Dave? Or
Well, you got some pretty cool chords in there.
Okay.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
for sure I could talk about them. I was thinking about what would I think would be something maybe worth passing on about the song. So one of the things that is partly interesting about this is it's in a minor key. So when you think of a minor key, and usually you think of certainly not always, but usually you think of the 4 chord. So if it's this is in the key of A minor. Usually you'd think of the 4 chord as a minor chord. Like that's the typical thing.
Yeah.
But there's lots of examples where that's not the case, and this is one of them, where it's a dominant chord. And so it goes from A minor, well in this case 9, to an A dominant chord, in this case 13th chord. And you can look online we could talk about that, but I think you can find lots of good teaching on different types of chord names like 13ths, 11ths, etc.
I just heard it, just to interrupt you for a
Yeah.
second, I heard an interesting thing on that because I'm trying to get up to speed on a lot of this.
Okay.
But when you say an 11th chord, for example,
Yes.
that's basically 4 steps up and then an octave, right?
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
and then a 13th would be the 6th, basically.
yeah, 13th has the 6th, but it also has the 7th. But the 6th is, just shy of an octave away from the 7th.
Right.
Or just more whatever.
Yeah, I mean, there's only
roughly an octave apart.
there's only 12. The point is, there's only 12 tones. When
Right,
somebody
yeah.
hears 13, they're thinking what?
Yeah.
So
the
you've
13th
got-
implies the 6th.
Yeah.
The 11th implies the 4th.
Right.
Okay, so that's one of the things. Another thing to me that's maybe not worth mentioning is it has what they call a minor 7 flat 5 chord, which is also really commonly.
Can you play that chord, Dale?
Yeah, I
so
can.
people
It's
know what
it's
that
like
feels
this.
like?
It's got this sound, and that's
So
commonly.
it sounds like it wants to resolve somewhere.
Yes, it does, Dave. It's a good point there.
Don't leave us hanging with that one.
No, we can't do that. But it's often called the half diminished chord as well, and it's interesting. Like it's in my view, it's a very underused chord. Like if you see people talking about chords in the key, a lot of times they will mention all the chords in diatonic chords in a key and not mention that one. Almost as if it's not worth mentioning. But to me, it's an interesting chord. In fact, it may be more interesting than a lot of them. And so in a minor key, you'll find that chord a whole tone above the key you're in. And in a major key, you'll find that chord a half step below the root of you're in. So it's an interesting chord. I
So
encourage
you're
you to
playing
check.
just so I get my head wrapped around here. This song is in the key of what?
E minor.
It's in E minor.
So it's
So
F sharp 7, minor 7 flat 5. And
So
you're talking
you're
about
2
resolving.
2 tones above the tonic.
Yes, yeah, a full step, and then it does resolve to a B chord. In this case, I've raised the 5th.
Nice, yeah.
Just got a slightly different sound to it. So that's something you should consider doing is using that chord. I find it. I've used it lots. I just like the sound of it. And so there's a lot of minor. I mean, even though there's a dominant 4 and it turns out a dominant 5, still it's got a real minor feel. So when you're writing a song, if you're going to do a bridge, you should be thinking about. Can I give the listener's ear a little break from all that heaviness? So in this case, what worked nicely was just a C major 7, and then I went to a B minor 7. Now we were playing B dominant 7, so the first time in the bridge is C major 7, then B minor 7, and then E, and then the second time C major 7, B dominant 7. So you in a minor key, feel free to mix and match if on a 5 chord, whether it's a dominant or a minor 7 chord. The minor one just has a softer feel to it, and sometimes it's better than than a dominant 7. Now, dominant 7s can sound a bit harsh. I mean, obviously they're great chords and very useful, but sometimes they're just really nice. The minor 7 is a softer sound.
That's nice, yeah. I like that.
And, the other thing I was going to say about this song, I think is worth pointing out, is it doesn't have a chorus. And what I would encourage you listeners, who's ever viewing this, to when you have an idea for a song, don't always assume it has to have a chorus, because there's a lot of great songs that sort of naturally fall into a non-chorus type song, and and that can open up a whole new world of possibilities for you in your as you develop your catalog of songs. Some songs seem to want to have a chorus, and some don't.
That reminds me, we had a question related to that a little bit. We had a question, Dale.
We did have a question.
Which means we had a listener.
We had at least one viewer. So, and maybe he's the only one that's viewed it 6 or 7 times, but...
Here's to the one listener.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We thank you. I'll take a sip here. The question was, basically, what do we think about a song not having a bridge but having an instrumental break instead? Do you have any thoughts on that? I know I do, but what do you...
I a bridge versus just a musical break.
Just an instrumental break, yes.
Instrumental break. Well, I just think in general, especially if you're writing a lot of songs, is you want to go into it thinking to yourself, what can I do structurally to make this song different from the last?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in pop music, generally chorus, verse, chorus, and then maybe a bridge.
Right.
Which, typically about 8 bars. Right. It's called a little middle 8 or something. Yeah. And so I would just say, it comes down to the song, whether you think you've got something to say that you haven't said in the chorus and the verse. But for sure, mix it up a little bit.
Exactly. And some songs you really don't feel like you have something else to say, and maybe you feel like a little instrumental break. When I got the question, I just did a quick mental review in my mind. How many songs on the last few projects I've done that didn't have a bridge, and there, it was close to half.
Really?
Close to half on each album, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that come into play. This is not totally related to that, but when I was putting together the tunes for my last album, I realized I had 4 songs in the same key. And something I hadn't even really thought about at all.
Yeah.
Because I'd written them at different times and not even thinking about it. And then when listening, I thought this isn't going to work. So I just changed, flatten or sharp the.
Well, I mean, if it's on an album, you can. One thing I'm sure you thought about is you can just spread the songs out.
Yeah.
So they're not side by side. Maybe 2 in the same key side by sides can be fine, but especially if the feel's different. But you don't want to have too much, because it just gets a little weird for the listener, a little weird for the ear.
Yeah. So on this song, you opted for a actual bridge.
An actual bridge,
versus a musical.
One of the nice things about it, if you are a singer-songwriter that plays by yourself, I will say this, unless you're handy with a looper, which I am, but if you're just strumming and playing by yourself and you don't use a looper, a bridge serves a really useful function, and that is to get you to the last chorus.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't if you don't have a bridge and you don't have a looper and can't do a little solo or instrumental break of some kind, then you're kind of stuck going
Yeah.
into the last chorus. So that's something to think about too.
Mm-hmm.
I would recommend getting comfortable with a looper. If you're playing by yourself, it's a fantastic little addition to your rig.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, maybe this is a good time. You were talking about the same songs for I think you were saying for an album, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things
Excuse me.
that I always think of, and I think I would encourage the viewers to think about, is to think about keys, as he was just mentioning. Think about timing, the tempos. Think about styles, so that the album, the last song freshens up your ear for the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of idea.
Yeah, it's kind of critical actually. If you're
Kind of is. Sequencing is important. Yeah. You got any more questions, Dave?
No, I think that's probably it.
Okay. So we want to, of course, encourage you to send in questions. If there's any questions you have, we don't, as we've said more than once, we don't consider ourselves authorities, but we do have opinions and thoughts on these things. So feel free to send us a question. We'll do our best to answer it. Or any comments, we appreciate that too. It was nice to see. We actually had another there was a question and a comment.
Excellent.
Yeah, so yeah, at least two. I guess there's two people that have seen us.
Mm-hmm. What was the comment?
Oh, just something like nice start to the show or something. But
Fell asleep at halfway.
exactly. But the last thing we just want to try to say is just to encourage you to consider giving to your local food bank or some agency that supports or helps the needy. So again, thank you for tuning in. I hope you'll tune in again. Take care.
Thank you.